And are we on? Have we got sound moving? Picture look seems to be fine. Hopefully everything's running as it should be. As per usual, bit of a rush this afternoon, this evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Edits. I'm Andy Gray, and tonight we're going to do some, funnily enough, some photograph editing, because it is Tuesday Night Edits. And this week, because I've produced pretty much exclusively subtle, very washed out kind of images tonight, we are going to, hi Charlotte, we're going to try to produce more watercolour like images. I would show you an example, but you're looking at me and I haven't got anything prepared in front of my face. Let's have a quick shufty. So basically something quite washed out like this. I also made some stuff midweek. It's Tuesday, it's not midweek yet. Let me see, what did I make? I made this image as well. Excuse me. Made this image on yesterday, was it? Yesterday, maybe it's the day before. Might have been Sunday. Another painterly, very washed out watercolour kind of feel of an image. So I thought I would carry on in that vein and see if we can knock a couple of them out tonight. Basically show you how usually I just kind of let the image dictate where it goes, but I thought we'd have a little go at purposefully at the start at the outset, was to make something that'll very much come across as a watercolor type of feature thing, image, whatchamacallit. So yeah, that's the plans for tonight. But as per usual, there's a few notes to go through to start off. The chat room is open. Please do jump in and say hello. There's usually a friendly bunch in there. There's been plenty of messages left for me ready to give you notes on and things like that, leading up to the start of the broadcast. So if you're in chat, you can read them. I will mention them as well. If you're watching later on, please do leave a comment below. And if you enjoy the stream as we go through it, or enjoy it when you're watching on catch up later on, then please do leave a thumbs up. And if you're not already, please do subscribe. One of the things I was going to mention, I am now 10 subscribers away from 600, which is pretty bloody mad. Mad, I say. Yes, 600 nearly 600 if you want to watch me ramble on and rabbit away about generally nothing. So thank you very much for the support, and you lovely people for subscribing and getting me up to nearly getting me up to that 600 mark. Of course, the next thing we're aiming for is 1,000, which may or may not coincide with a giveaway. Just as I give away something for 400, or was it 450, and then 500. So the next one is going to be 1,000. So tell your mates and your granny to subscribe. The more the merrier. Hi there, Deja Vu Photography. Can you please tell me your favourite camera movements and shutter speeds? Straight off the bat, I will use pretty much anything from 1/5 of a second through to 5 seconds, depending on light conditions and what ND filter I've got strapped to the front, and of course subject matter as well. Movements can be anything, just from something very, very small movements through to spinning 360 degrees, along with twisting the camera on the way around as well. So it can get pretty extreme, and you can look pretty daft. Aha! You could just tell them that, well, you can't really fake a watercolour though, can you? Because there's going to be watercolour marks on it. just make it look identical, Charlotte. Be all good. Right, where did I get lost off on? This past week. Was it this past week? It was last week. So it was last Thursday. I did my first camera club talk of the season down at Cramlington for the lovely people down there. Lovely club. There was a fair few people who were possibly very much relieved to see something a bit out there and a bit different. But overall, the feedback was very positive. So thank you very much to Cramlington Camera Club. Try saying that after half a glass of wine. Probably have more success, to be honest. Thank you very much for them for hosting me last week. It went very well. I am obviously getting far too confident with speaking, which is one of the reasons why I started up the YouTube channel, was to improve my public speaking. The other advantage was because they're in the northeast, and then I didn't really need to worry about my accent, so I could just let that go, and I managed to get through the entire thing in not much more than an hour, whereas in the past it's been nearer 2. So the next one I have got coming up is in Harrogate in a couple of weeks' time on the 15th. So if you're in the Harrogate area or Yorkshire area, I think you're more than welcome to come along, and there will be a charge for non-members. But don't all come, because it is a smallish building. But yeah, if you're in the area, then do come along for that. Details on the Harrogate Photographic Society website, which I'll eventually stick in a link below. So looking forward to that. Having a day down in Harrogate and that area, so maybe do some shooting whilst I'm down there. I know last year when I was in York, I came back with a ruckload of images, so it was a worthy trip. So I'm hoping the Harrogate trip's going to be just as good, and I will be debuting some new products when I'm down there. Just going to take some samples along, but if you want an advance warning of them, please do subscribe to my newsletter. Links below, and I'll be getting news out about that probably the beginning of next week, possibly the weekend. Actually, scrap that, busy weekend, so it'll be the beginning of next week, I think. The best case scenario. Deja vu. How do I decide the movements? It is very intuitive. It is literally, I'll maybe take 10 or 15 images, and then each one I'm chimping on the back of the camera, so I'm just looking to see how things are moving. Generally, I am not a straight left and right or straight up and down kind of ICM movement, and there's a lot of movements left, twisting as I move. But the important bit is that for when the shutter's first pressed, is to hold it for that fraction of a second and then do all your movements then. So just let that initial image capture on your sensor, and then move it around, and then the light will paint into the dark areas, that kind of thing. So the best thing is to come along and do on one of my one-to-ones, which you can find details of on my website. Evening, Alan. Good to see you. What else have I got to mention? Harrogate ticked off, yes. I've got workshops and one-to-ones coming up this month, getting quite busy, which is good. Strange being a busy photographer, because for the last 8 years I've been dead quiet and getting poorer by the second. If you were here last week, and we went through for half an hour about printing and how we'd had a bit of a nightmare getting colours right on a couple of prints that I had done. That issue is now resolved. I mean, by last week I'd already got the replacement images, and they were fantastic. But the resolution was that the calibration device was buggered. So if the last 2 calibrations had gone completely out, but by rolling back to previous calibrations, everything was bang on. So So my printer now has now gone away and bought a new calibration device to make sure everything's tippity top. So there you go. So that's that happily resolved. If he is out there, Rob Knight, I was going to mention it anyway, but he did prompt me. If you are on Twitter and that kind of thing, you will probably know about Connected, which is an annual event, usually held at, Patchin's Art Centre down in Nottinghamshire. It's like an annual exhibition that runs for like a month or whatever, and that's usually in May. Last year it celebrated its 10 years anniversary. Or was that this year? I've lost track. Last year. This year was its 11th. And this year something slightly different. They are doing an extra weekend, but further north. Still not quite far enough north for me, but still further a bit north. So in somewhere in North Yorkshire, Liverton, I think it is, the village of Liverton. Rob has organised a weekend event where on Saturday there'll be a talk by photographer Alistair Ross, who does photography, funnily enough. He does mainly film, I think probably exclusively film photography of all manner of things. Very talented photographer. So he's doing a talk on that, and there will be an entertainment as well, I believe. Rob's not in chat at the minute, I don't think. There's some guy singing and all, basically. So, and there's a meal that night as well, so if anybody wants to come along. But please do book. There's the link is in the description below to the website with all the details. And part of that weekend, on this Sunday, there are 3 workshops, as Rob has described them as. And one is in Whitby, one is in Staithes, I think that's how you say it, and the other is in South Gare, which is just outside Redcar. And I'm involved in the South Gare one. I am one of the co-leaders, and we are going to make some images. So you can come along to those, and there is a charge for that. All goes to charity. We're donating our time and whatever. But all the costs for the walk, etc., go to charity, and that is in aid of RNLI Staithes. Not be Staines, because that's doing London, isn't it? Staithes. Yeah, so if you're into all that kind of thing, hit up the website that's linked below. Full details on there. Rob will be pleased as punch to have people booked onto that. It should be a cracking day, whichever whatever you can do, whether it's just the Saturday or come on the walks, one of the walks on the Sunday. I believe, actually I've got a screen for that. Why am I looking at that bloody picture? Where's my screen gone? There we go. Guest speakers, performers. That's Saturday the 10th at the Water Wheel in Liverton, I think it is. Yeah, love plenty on there. Guided workshops, Whitby Painful Photography with Andrew Atkinson and Ian Burton, who you'll have seen in amongst the chat recently, and adverts about their workshop that's coming up this weekend in previous episodes. Staithes Coastal Expressions, and that is a classic location, and it's Paul Heathcote and Valerie Darling leading that one. And then on the other one, Paddy's Hill and South Gare, is myself, Rob Knight, and I've switched it off and I can't bloody remember who it was now. And Alistair Ross. There'll be a good variation of things going on there. Right then, I think that's enough news, etc. So yeah, just make sure you subscribe to my email so you can be so you know what's coming up in my product line and that's coming in from next week. There'll probably be pre-orders and things like that. Keep an eye on that. And yeah, we're going to edit some pictures, weren't we? So it's in 15 minutes of prattling on long enough. So we were going to try and make some painterly, watercolory things. So I'm looking at making, oops, if I go to that screen. Starting point is really to get something quite loose like this, something quite light, where basically where I've shot the image is getting the subject on the horizon and basically using the light above it to paint it away, kind of wash it out. So this kind of shot we've got a little bit of, it's all quite light. As you can see, I've already used these in other shots. That's another one I just did the other day. Again, very washed out, not much detail. So it is, very much using these images where there's not a lot of detail, so they do look very much like brush strokes. So I think straight away these two might go together quite nicely. These two. So we're going to have a little edit of these two. That might go to a completely different location for the next ones. So just going to clean this image up. Get rid of these dust spots. Always in the same damn place. That's good enough, I think. Let's do an auto white balance on there just to warm it up a touch. Lens correction is just so it doesn't vignette as much. Might actually ramp that vignetting out just to get rid of even more of it. And I'm actually going to lighten the image as well. So that's increasing it by nearly a stop. May find that this area here becomes quite blown out and quite difficult to use. So I'm just going to scale the highlights back a bit there and bring out that shadows just so there's a bit of something other than just darkness down here, because we want the image very much light, and we don't want to be putting too many layers on, because I end up starting to look like oil paints and things like that. So we're wanting watercolor, so it's very much a light wash, as if you had barely touched the paper with a brush. So that looks quite loose at the minute. I think it was this one we're going to use. Yeah. Do previous on that, and it'll copy all the previous settings across. See, the shapes to this one I really like. They are very much like brush strokes. Just the distinctive parts of the castle, which is Dunstanburgh Castle, if you didn't know that already. Already it almost looks like there's a broad brush stroke going across that way, and just drawing that out. Looks lovely already, and we haven't even done anything yet. So I'm going to blend these together. I'm just wondering if we have a look at another image. That one, probably a bit too much detail in that one. I was just looking for companion images. See, this image itself, just paste across. I'm going to paste across the those edits, just see what it's like under the same conditions. See, there's something there. It's very loose. There's no shape to it. You're not adding anything else, any castle shape or anything like that. But these random areas could add something to the image as we blend it. So I think that's been a good call. I think so. We'll just blend these together, and we're gonna send these into Photoshop as layers. So right click, edit in, then across to open layers in Photoshop, which you would see if it wasn't in front of my head. Here, open layers in Photoshop. We'll just wait for that to load up. Right, I can shut these down now. There we go. Got a shot of all that. Give the computer a bit of memory to play with. Are we all alright out there? They're all gone quiet. Hope everybody's having a lovely Tuesday. Isn't the autumn colour coming on quickly for those that are in Britain, obviously? Saw some pictures from Colorado the other day. My God, wouldn't mind being out there at the minute. Beautiful colours. Bit better than here. Scenery's a hell of a lot better as well. Right then, so I was requested to do my Photoshop side of things a slightly slower. So, in my slow motion guys, basically we now have 3 layers in Photoshop. I'm going to select all 3, which is obviously Shift, click the top one, hold down Shift, click the bottom one, select all layers, and then this patch here, this is where the blend modes happen. This is where you've got a big long list of blend modes to play with, and what I normally do is just cycle through them, just use the scroll wheel on the mouse. How blurred or distorted are they? They're not blurred or distorted after I've taken them, Charlotte. They are all as they were. All I kind of do is clean the image up. So that's like just reduce ISO noise, take out dust spots, and get rid of any heavy vignetting, which happens when you've got filters on and things like that. So if you've got a dark filter on, you probably get more vignetting because there's more of the barrel of the camera for the light to come through. So things like that. So there's not really any distortion. It's all from the capture. All these kind of shapes, they are just the way the camera's moved during capture. I think that's what you mean. So I don't do any distortion once I have them into Lightroom. I just kind of clean them up and then just do some layering. So I need back to the layering, blend modes here, and I'll just cycle through these with the scroll wheel on the mouse. So here we have, this is the darken blend mode, this is the multiply blend mode, this is the color burn blend mode, this is the linear burn blend mode, darker color, which is similar to darken, but there's sometimes a harder edge on color, between 2 colors. Lighten, which just takes the lightest part of all 3 images and pushes that to the forefront. Screen is a very bright one. Color dodge is usually very messy. Lighter colors, again similar to lighten, but there's a harder edge on color shifts. Overlay is where I start using certain ones. Soft light is similar to overlay but a bit softer. And then various different modes: hard light, vivid light, linear light, and then pin light, hard mix, where this, this is where it starts getting crazy. And a lot of these have no use whatsoever. Difference, exclusion, subtract, divide. There's all mathematical stuff going on in the background, which I don't know what it's all about, but And then you have a section of colour ones, so hue, this is where the mixes all the hues together. Saturation, colour, luminosity. Those ones are the more, if you were adding colour, would be more helpful. So out of all those, which one's kind of going to work best with a, to get towards producing a watercolour effect? And I think it's going to be, instead of just picking one and going with it, it is going to be a bit of a mix, I think. Either that, or I take out that extra frame that I put in. I'm just going back to normal, and I think I'm just going to, make that one invisible, so I'm not in view, and then just see how these two blend together themselves. Just see how they are getting on. See, the lighting looks very nice, very nice shapes. That is looking quite nice actually. But just to check, we'll go through and see how overlay and soft light work. Yeah, I think it's going to be it is going to be lighting. It just takes this harder edge out here, and by removing this layer, takes out a lot of, or by having that in, softens this area down here. I'm making no sense. Right then. So I think that looks pretty good. There's not much overlaying, but it's, with it being the light and blend modes, the light areas of this top image are taken over and really bringing out this foreground here, which is quite nice. And then the right hand side of the castle and away into the sea over this area here, if you can see my cursor, that's just falling away into a nice nothingness, which is very pretty. So this layer I think we can just jettison, or the other option is to maybe look at multiply at these layers and just cycle through. Which one was that? Darker. See this darken layer, yeah, it's taking a bit more out of this lightened area here, so it's not overly bright, and then extending the foreground from here across here. So then becomes a choice of, does it look good with or without it? And this is where you cycle back and forward, looking and selecting and deselecting, just flicking back and forward until your mind can make a decision what you want. I actually quite like the way it just adds a little bit more in here, but I don't like this area here. So that's where we go and put a mask on. So click that to make a layer mask, and then select the gradient tool, so it's black and white, and just put that across there, and that gets rid of that area here. Yes, it lightens it generally, but I'm sure we can deal with it. And then just adds in this extra bit of foreground here, which I think, to me, just helps balance the image a little bit better. So that's looking not too bad. Right then, so what I am going to do, I'm going to add in a new layer, and I am going to, and this is where the choice comes, do I end up going starting off down the yellow road and just going with it, or do I put in a crazy colour like blue and then see if I can still turn it red by the end of the image? I think yellow's going to work better. We can always add in something or change the colours later on. Excuse me. So I've added in a new layer on a new blank layer. Fill that with the paint bucket tool, and then I'm going to use the hue blend mode on that layer, and that will actually colour that green. I'm going to dial back on the opacity and just take it from that green and just warm it up a touch. That's what, 29%, something like that. Yep. Just softens that green a touch. So, and then this is the point where we'll jump into Analog Effects Pro and see what it does. Excuse me while I drink. Yeah, I still haven't updated that. Come on. I'm going down the presets here. There's nothing really jumping out, but that's not really surprising because a lot of these have got the double layer mode obviously reversed, upside down, and obviously that means this area here is going across this area there, so it just blots it all out, so it's all very, very light. So what we're actually going to do is make our own from scratch. So in Analog Effects Pro, you go up to Cameras, click that arrow, go to Build a Camera at the bottom, Camera Kit, and the ones that we want are double exposure, get rid of dust and scratches, don't need that, lens vignette, film type, and levels and curves. That's what we want. I think that's all we need. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do, pig. Just zero all these settings. Hang on, it's everything zeroed out. So we're starting from a fresh, you know, unspoilt kind of thing. I'm going to turn off the double exposure to start with, turn off the lens vignette as well. Film type, I'm going to ramp right up and do the faded right up there. And I just cycle through these, see how they are fitting with me. See if any jump out and look good. Just as a starting point. I think something like that actually will work. And obviously we can manipulate the colour with the curves adjustment. I'm going to bring this top end, the highlights end, down just to fill this area with some data. There is data there that's not actually blown out, but it is quite light. Just want something to work with. And obviously we want to make it kind of look like a watercolour wash. So I'm just going to lift that bottom end, and what am I doing? RGB here, blue, and then the negative of blue is yellow, so I'm just going to warm this up, especially the sky. The red channel. Come here. Not too much, just a touch above there. this will all change once I'll put that double exposure layer back in. Now we can have a bit play around with areas and shapes. So again, we've got the basis there. It is pretty bloody loose at the minute, very soft. Just a hint of the shape of the castle there. Images like this obviously help if it's all, if you've got a distinctive shape and a well-known, maybe not a well-known shape, but something that's identifiable or iconic or something of that nature. Luckily we've got a few castles around here, so, and they're all pretty well known. So you obviously got Dunstanburgh here, which a lot of people have been to, or at least know what it looks like. It's a fairly distinctive ruinous state. Bamburgh is a very iconic shape as it sits on the coastline. There's plenty of things like that. I'd imagine if you're in London or whatever, Tower of London, they'll work in a similar way. Churches and cathedrals, even modern skyline kind of things. Just stay away from direct sunlight with them, because light streaks will cause you problems. The good thing about old ruinous things is there's generally no glass and no lights on them, so you can get away with it a lot better. So I am going to turn on the double exposure module, and we are going to straight away we're going to bring that zoom strength back down to 0, because we don't want it to just be blurry. And I'm just going to spin this upside down, see what we've got. Just expand that to its full magnification, which is 400%. Just going to bring this down until those darker areas do start affecting, having effect on the main subject in the corner here. And we are very loose there. As you can see there, that is a very washed out, just the merest hint of colour and brushwork on a canvas, or on watercolour paper, I should say. So that's kind of what we were looking for, but maybe not quite so, maybe not quite this light. So, but there's things we can manoeuvre around. So in the double exposure module there are sliders to brighten and darken. I was just thinking it might darken down a touch. You can change the balance between the exposures, so that second one doesn't dominate so much. So you can bring that back, where you can see, if you can bring it back to 0, that's what we started out with. You could take it back all the way to the right hand side, and then you can see that the hill is the item that is having the greatest effect on that base layer. And it's really just a case of manoeuvring the sliders until you find a happy medium where you're quite happy with it. I'm quite happy with that, especially when I look at the second monitor here. It looks a bit better. But also in the basic adjustments here, there are options here. There's detail extraction, which would be helpful. Just give you a bit more edge. Just to bring those shapes in a bit better. There's brightness and contrast again. Brightness I think we can leave alone. Certainly no higher than 0%. Contrast can look good either way. Can bring in quite a bit of definition on the right hand if you go to the right hand side. Or you can reduce contrast and it will flatten it out and give you that much softer a feel. I think we need some contrast in there just to spice it up a bit. Just going to scale that back a bit. Fine adjustments all the time. Just you can be here for hours just maneuvering things around. Just 1 or 2% on the sliders can make a huge difference. So I think we are looking okay there. So that's what we started out with, that's what we've got now. Just going to play around with yes. RGB curve, just see if adding an S curve is going to add in, because I just think there was a bit more, could do with a little bit more light in it. And the advantage of the curves module in here over Lightroom and Photoshop is that it has a luminosity curve as well, which I've got selected there, so that should bring the whole thing down. So do it about there. Well, I'll probably push these back up again once we get back in. Thank you, Charlotte. It's very kind of you. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it so far. So we'll just OK that, and we'll come back out into Photoshop itself. I'll have a quick slurp if you don't mind. Right then, I'm looking at two different screens, and it looks way better on this one where the screen's actually a bit crap, which is a bit unnerving, but never mind. Right then, what I am going to try to do, I think, is, this is a little tip I picked up off Simon Baxter's latest video, which I think he released at the weekend, something like that. But he actually said that, because it was a video about printing, obviously I had problems with that the other week, was to actually, when he was preparing it, is to give the screen a white background and zoom the image out to like a thumbnail kind of size, and that'll actually give you an idea of how of whether your image is too dark, or or if it's too light, or do you need to darken it down or whatever, which I thought was a pretty cool little trick. And I can see, as I'm looking at it from this kind of distance, because I'm not really that fussed about how it's going to look on screen. I am thinking about the end print product. So from here, to me, it looks a little bit dark. So I'm just going to look to brighten it. He says a touch, but it might be brightened quite a bit. So yeah, if I remember, I'll stick a Hoojar whip into the corner of the video to Simon's latest video. If not, just look for Simon Baxter. You should know who he is already if you come into photography YouTube channels. He's a damn good photographer. So yeah, I'm quite happy, and like now that I've, just as a comparison, I've lightened that quite significantly. Just on that little trick of looking, basically simulating looking at it from distance. Well, a cool little trick, brilliant brilliant little thing to pick up on. So yeah, just if there's people out there doing photography videos, do watch it. You'll pick up something no matter who you watch. Whether it's out in the field stuff or editing or processing, or little tips and tricks. Everybody's got something out there. Make sure you watch lots of them. Even if it's a genre that you don't shoot or you're not interested in, there'll be something in there that you can pick up. That'll be helpful to your own setup and way of working. I'm a big believer of consuming as much as you can to advance your own work. Which hopefully is why you're all here, to advance your own work and consume something a little bit different. Either that or you all just take pity on us and you've forgotten that Bake Off's actually on now. Right, so I'm reasonably happy with this, but one thing I am going to do, and it's going to be on a layer, so it's not going to be destructive in any way. It's just going to be a case of I either keep it or I knock the layer off, and we don't do anything. But I'm going to go into Viveza, and I'm going to just try to switch the colours up and just see how things go on that, because we might get something quite nice out of something quite different. Now, if you watched a lot, you'll know that I like Viveza because you can do a huge change in the whole hue of the whole image in one slider. Sometimes I just do it just to see what it's like, rather than actually work on it. It's just a quick slider one way or the other. I'm sure you can do it in Photoshop as well on its layers, but habits die hard, and this is the way I've done it for a long time. So the hue slider here, obviously you can push it one way and push it the other, so you can get some significant changes. So just very slowly just take this across. You can see there, to me, I'm just starting to get into an area where it could look quite nice. It really depends on the image. Where this one, and being a very subtle image, you can get away with some big changes without it ruining the image. No worries, Rob. Good to see you. Hopefully the plug was okay for you. So enjoy your dog walk. We'll see you soon. So you can do huge changes without it ruining the image. And this is why I like Photoshop and post-processing rather than actually picking up a bit of paper, some paint, a brush and putting it on, because you can't change the bloody colour afterwards. Well, I could, I suppose, if I scanned it and then went into Photoshop and did all this. So basically I think I do this because I'm lazy. I can't make my mind up on colour until I'm well and truly the last part of the image is where I'm deciding what colour I'm using. So really, I'm almost from, say, if we go for percentages, I've gone from 40% under to 30. Oh no, 40. Oh, it's on degrees. This 40 degrees under the starting point, right the way to 30 degrees over the starting point. So that's a big chunk of movement. Where anything on that over that angle of change can make an image that I would be quite happy with. I'd be quite happy with this green version, and I'd be quite happy with this, this redder version. And that's one of the beauties of this way of working, is you get the right image, you can change it massively. So I think obviously I do like warm colours, so I am going to retain that warm kind of look, but I'm not going to go too far back to what we started with. So maybe it's about there, I would say. Can't remember what it looked like to start with. There you go. Quite happy with that. Click OK and we'll come back in. Yes, that's basically it, Charlotte. I am just too much work to go into it to then go, oh crap, everything's turned, like you say, a dirty puddle of purple or brown or whatever. So and to me that's wasted money. That's wasted precious money, because you spent probably 2p on that small amount of pigment that you've put into the tray, and you've wasted it because you haven't used it. So I hate stuff like that. So to me, this is like doing it all for free. It's great. So now I'm back into Photoshop and I can quickly turn on and turn off the layer. I can, this is where I start making the decisions. Do I like it with this, with this color cast, or do I like the original? And back and forward, back and forward, and back and forward. I'll do this on several occasions throughout the image making process. Just switching layers on and switching layers off repeatedly for like a minute until I just decide. And I'll usually decide I'm going to blend them together anyway. So that layer, I'm just going to put through a few, just preview with other layer blends to see how they look. So you get the usual daft ones. You get something quite nice like that in the overlay layer. And you can switch it off just to see what effects it was having. It's quite a bit brighter. You could dial back on the opacity, just make it more subtle. There's around about 50%, and it looks more like a harsher wash in that area. Yes, I've used Snapseed donkeys years ago. The people that made Snapseed made the Nick collection originally. Nick made Snapseed until Google bought Nick, and basically all they were after was the mobile photo editing of Snapseed, which then Google implemented into Google Photos. They've still got Snapseed as the editor, but if you go into your photos on your Google device, if you're on Android or whatever, basically all the back end's just Snapseed in there. And then Google went and decided they weren't going to do anything more with the Nick collection, so therefore DxO have then since bought out the Nick collection from Google, which is probably one of the first times Google's ever sold anything to anybody. But they weren't going to support it, and we all used it for a long time. There's probably a lot less people use it now, but to me it's still good. It's a good tool, and to me it's actually it's an essential tool. So there you go. So yeah, Snapseed, yes, very good for mobile phone editing and stuff like that. So that's looking okay. I think I'm just quite liking that stronger area here. Still got the wisps of the ruined castle up there. I think that looks okay. And maybe even dial it back a touch more, or change the blend mode again. That's one of them things you can go back and forward on for a long time. Like I say, I can spend minutes at a time just flicking things on and off, just to see how, like, before I make a decision. This is how indecisive I am. I can quite easily turn something on and off, on and off, on and off for minutes at a time before I decide I'm gonna go one way or the other, and then I'll probably just go and kind of combine the two anyway. So yeah, yes, right. I think that will do for that image. And actually, seeing as it's nearly an hour's up, then I don't really see there's a point in making another one. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an overview of how I make these images. I'll just save that. That will find its way back into Lightroom. If you don't know already, the presets that I use, which if you watched from when I started this image, you will see now I created I didn't create a preset because I didn't save it, but you saw the process of how I have built them in the past. But if you want to get a hold of my current set of presets, which I use regularly, or pretty much on anything, please do head to that address. Also the links below in the description. Doing quite nicely. Right then, so we're back into Lightroom. It should be. Yep. Just got 3 stars so I can find it again. I'm quite happy with that. I'll just do the select. I made that one yesterday. Same castle, similar kind of process. Just going very washed out on the colour, that kind of thing. Just looking for just shapes and the way things work together. So it's just in a trend I've got into in the last few weeks, is to very much just go for very minimal. You know, they're not good for putting on Instagram because they're not going to grab and dazzle anybody. So you're not going to get all your likes, and you're not going to get loads of retweets on Twitter and that kind of thing. But they are the kind of thing that they will probably look bloody good in print and look very much like a watercolor. You could put them on a lovely textured paper, print them out on that, and yeah, probably your average Joe public wouldn't even know the difference between what we've made here tonight and an actual watercolor if it was in a shop. So there you go. Before I forget, I did have a bit of an update on my exhibition, which is coming up next year. Originally it was going to be October next year, but it looks yet to be fully confirmed, but it looks like it will be July through like the mid-July through to the beginning of September. So basically it equates to the kids' holidays, kids' summer holidays. So that is an absolutely fantastic opportunity to not only exhibit, but exhibit at pretty much the busiest time you can have, because that's smack bang right in the middle of summer. The villages and towns should be heaving around here. So it's bloody amazing for them to offer us that. But like I say, yet to be fully confirmed, but it looks like it'll be beginning at the start of the kids' holidays next summer, and then winding up in September, like beginning of September, when the kids going back to school. So yes, it's going to be a busy time, but I think it's definitely worth me doing it. Well, hopefully we'll see a few of you up for that as well. It'll be good to see you if you do come up for it. But there'll be much more about that coming up in the future, which I am intending on shooting much more about it, about me prep for it, and throughout it and that kind of thing. So hopefully there'll be a big playlist all about the exhibition and the prep for it. So there you go. Question from Deja Vu again. Do you print them on paper or canvas? And if paper, what kind of paper? I print on paper. I haven't. I'll tell a lie. I've had one printed on canvas, but it was a very, very old image, and it wasn't of this style. So it's just one of my old images, and that was many moons ago, probably 10 or 12 years ago. Actually, no, I tell a lie. It'll be about 2011. So I haven't printed on canvas. A mate of mine has printed one of mine on canvas, but a cheap canvas, and it didn't look very good. His words, not mine. I haven't seen it. And I do print on paper. I generally shoot on photo speed papers. I've got a bit of a collection behind there. If I'm using matte paper, it'll be the natural soft texture bright white, which is 315 GSM, and glossy type. They do a platinum burrito, which is one of their signature papers, which is a very nice semi-gloss paper. And I also use art fibre, again by Photospeed, which has a glossy finish, but it's a more textured paper, but with that glossy finish. So that's very good for dark reds, dark blacks, all blacks dark. You daft bugger. So that gives me a wider gamut of colour, because the reds in my images are a pain in the arse to print. So they're very, that paper is very good for reds, and it gives a very nice black. The others maybe not so, and especially the matte papers give me a headache for my regular type of images. They'll work beautifully on these watercolour style ones that I've got at the minute. But yeah, we'll be doing a little bit more in printing in the next few weeks. Maybe even a dedicated video away from the live streams. I was fully intending on getting a video out this week, but it looks like it's going to be pretty busy. Yeah, pretty busy for the rest of the week. Busy weekend coming up. Next week's a bloody nightmare, and then the following weekend I might be away. And then I've got Harrogate, and then I've got Rima workshops coming up. So I haven't really got time for much. So unfortunately the next few weeks might be only live streams. I have got a bit of content shot for vlog style videos, which hopefully I did together. And now I've got more images from Dunsonborough here that we've been editing tonight, and a ream of others I've processed since I shot it a fortnight ago or whatever. I will have a video from that morning. I just need to record the end of it because I forgot to record the other second half of the video. So it'll be me on site to a point, and then be me back here. So I think that'll do for tonight. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Thank you very much for everybody that was in chat tonight. If you've got any further questions, just bung them in the comments below once the broadcast's finished, and I'll try to answer them as best as I can. Hopefully this has been very helpful to everybody out there, especially Charlotte. Hopefully she's picked up something so she can do her A-level coursework. Still can't believe people do coursework based on me, but never mind. It just feels weird. So yeah, until next week, I think, yeah. If there's any news, just follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and all that kind of thing. I'll try to keep you updated as much as possible. But yeah, until next week, thank you very much for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe, by the way. I think that's all we've got to mention. Yeah, so until next time, until I find the bloody witch slide to end with. End screen, that's the one. See you next week.